If you waste time like that again, I'll make sure you disappear from this hotel immediately. Have you ever been invisible? Not just overlooked, truly invisible, as if your existence didn't matter. That's where Raina Carter lived. Until the day she revealed a hidden talent to the one person who could either destroy her or change her life forever. A single piece of paper, 4 handwritten words, and a CEO standing right behind her watching. The paper floated down. Raina's hand moved without permission, the pen gliding across borrowed space. She wrote what her mother used to say, "Kindness is never wasted." Then the door opened. The sheet slipped from her fingers and landed at the feet of the one man who could end her career. The Manhattan Grand wasn't just a hotel. It was a hierarchy written in marble and gold. Easton Hughes stood at the top, CEO at 34, running the property his grandfather built. Elodie Johnson commanded the middle shift manager with an iron clipboard and sharper tongue. And Raina She lived in the invisible spaces, 26 years old, cleaning rooms others forgot existed. Her name tag said room attendant. Her reality said less. The conference room gleamed under her care that morning. An important signing was scheduled for 2 o'clock. Papers covered the mahogany table. She shouldn't have touched them, but one sheet had fallen and she couldn't help herself. The blankness called to her. Her mother had taught her calligraphy in the year before cancer took her. "Letters are little acts of love," she'd said, guiding Raina's 10-year-old hand. "Every stroke matters. Every curve holds intention." 16 years later, Raina still carried that pen, still practiced in stolen moments, still dreamed of a life where her hands created beauty instead of erasing messes. The strokes came naturally, elegant, confident, everything Raina wasn't in real life. On paper, she became someone else, someone who mattered. She finished the quote and exhaled. For 3 seconds, she felt whole. Then the paper slipped. Easton Hughes moved like winter, all precision and controlled cold. He bent down, lifted the page, and went still. His fingers traced the ink. His eyes narrowed not with anger, but with something Raina couldn't name. Recognition, maybe, or memory. His father had been a calligrapher. These strokes looked exactly like those from childhood. "I'm so sorry, sir. It fell, and I shouldn't have." Elodie's voice cut through like scissors. "Mr. Hughes, I apologize for this employee's inappropriate behavior." She glared at Raina. "If you waste time like that again, I'll make sure you disappear from this hotel. Understand?" Raina reached for the paper. Easton pulled it back, folded it carefully, and slipped it into his jacket. He said nothing, but his jaw tightened, and for just a moment his eyes met hers with intensity that made her forget to breathe. He walked out. Elodie stayed long enough to deliver one final warning, and Raina stood there trembling, wondering what she'd done and whether she'd still have a job tomorrow. What did the CEO see in those words that made him keep them, and what would he do with this shy girl's secret talent? 3 days passed. Raina cleaned 62 rooms, each one a reminder of her place. Elodie watched constantly. Thursday morning, Raina arrived early and allowed herself 5 minutes in the empty break room. Just 5. Just enough to remember who she used to want to be. Her pen moved across a blank supply form, creating letters that felt like breathing after being underwater. "Are you joking right now?" Elodie stood in the doorway, eyes blazing. Behind her, 3 other cleaners froze. "This is a 5-star hotel, Raina, not an art class." Elodie strode across. "You think guests pay $800 so you can sit here doodling?" "I arrived early. I wasn't on the clock." "You're always on my clock." Elodie snatched the paper. You're a cleaner with delusions. Who do you think you are? You drag down this team with your fantasies." The other cleaners looked away. Beth stared at her shoes. "If you can't focus on the only work you're qualified for, find employment elsewhere." Elodie crumpled the paper and threw it in the trash. "This is your only warning. It won't happen again." "It better not." Raina grabbed her cart and disappeared before anyone could see her cry. That night after her shift, Raina sat on the loading dock. The city hummed around her. She pulled out a napkin and wrote one word, to prove she was still real. Some strokes are strong enough to rewrite a life. Raina jumped. Cade Brown stood nearby, security uniform crisp despite the midnight hour. 65 years old, silver hair eyes that noticed everything. "Don't bury them so fast," he said, nodding at her hand. "The letters, I mean. No one cares what a cleaner writes." "Your mother cared." Raina looked up sharply. "How did you know her?" "I've been here 40 years. I remember when she'd meet you after school. You'd practice in the lobby and she'd watch with pride." He smiled. "Said you had a gift." "She's not here anymore." "No, but you are. And that gift didn't die with her." His voice was firm. "Question is, are you going to let Elodie convince you it never existed?" He walked away, leaving Raina with proof that part of her mother still lived in every stroke. The crisis came Tuesday. A Singapore delegation arrived for partnership negotiations. The Manhattan Grand had commissioned a hand-lettered welcome scroll in traditional Mandarin. The delegates arrived at 3. By 3:15, disaster struck. Raina was cleaning nearby when she heard raised voices. Through the doorway, she saw Elodie's panicked face. The head delegate stood before the scroll, displeased. "This character is incorrect," the delegate said. "The stroke order changes the meaning to something offensive." Elodie's smile fractured. "I'm certain our calligrapher—" "Your calligrapher made a significant error." The delegate turned away. "In my culture, such mistakes suggest carelessness." "Can anyone fix this? Does anyone read traditional characters?" Silence. 400 employees. Not one could help. Raina's hand moved toward her pocket. She'd studied Eastern calligraphy for years, teaching herself from library books. She knew exactly how to correct it. 2 minutes. She stepped forward. "I might be able to help." Elodie's head whipped around. In 3 strides, she crossed the room, gripped Raina's arm, and smiled at the delegates. "Excuse us." In the hallway, the smile vanished. "Are you trying to humiliate this hotel?" Her whisper was lethal. "If I let someone of your position touch that scroll in front of VIPs, if you mess up, you're fired. Don't embarrass us." "I could fix it. Go clean something. Stay invisible." Raina watched as Elodie called an emergency calligrapher, who arrived 90 minutes later, charged $3,000 for a 5-minute fix, and saved the partnership. And Raina went back to work, wondering why helping always felt like a crime. By Thursday, complaints accumulated. A guest found a stain Raina supposedly missed. Another claimed improper towel folding. A third complained about chemical smell. Raina knew she'd done everything correctly, but Elodie called her in anyway. 3 complaints in 2 days. "I double-checked every room. You're distracted. Your head is in those ridiculous letter dreams." Elodie leaned forward. "I'm writing you up. 1 more complaint and you're terminated." Her smile was cold. "Understand?" Raina nodded. She made it to the supply closet before breaking. She sat on the floor and let herself cry for 1 minute. "They're right," she whispered. "Who would believe a room cleaner could change anything? Then why do I still ache to write? Why does this dream keep burning?" The door opened. Cade stood there unsurprised. He sat beside her on the cold floor, keeping company with someone who'd forgotten how to hope. "My daughter wanted to be a dancer," he finally said. "Professional ballet. She had everything except permission from a world that didn't think she belonged." Raina looked at him. Every audition, someone told her she didn't fit. Eventually, she believed them. Got a practical job. Spent 20 years wondering what if. His voice roughened. "She died last year, never having danced professionally. I'm so sorry." "Me too. But I learned something. Silence is safe sometimes, but silence can also be failure." He looked at her directly. "Which one are you choosing?" He left, and Raina sat there wondering if her hands would ever hold anything more than a mop. Sometimes the people who see us least need to see us most. But was this shy girl strong enough to step into the light when everyone told her to stay hidden? The executive meeting happened Friday at 2. Raina wasn't supposed to know about it, but Cade mentioned it during rounds. All department heads, the Singapore delegates, board members. Big decision today. At 2:30, Raina was working near the executive wing when Elodie's voice crackled through the radio. "All staff stay clear of the boardroom corridor. No interruptions." Raina finished the 14th floor and started down the service stairs. The boardroom was on 13. She had no intention of going near it. But when she reached the landing, she heard her name. The cleaner. The one who writes. Her blood froze. She pressed against the wall, invisible again, listening through the door someone had left slightly open. Easton Hughes's voice came through clearly. "I want to show you something." Papers rustled, then silence. The kind that holds 100 unspoken reactions. "This is calligraphy," someone said. A woman's voice accented. One of the Singapore delegates. "Yes, traditional style. It says, 'Kindness is never wasted.' It's beautiful. But Mr. Hughes, why are we discussing this when we're negotiating a $40 million partnership?" Easton's pause lasted 3 heartbeats. "Because this paper is why I decided to move forward with this deal instead of walking away." The room went silent. Raina's heart hammered. "I don't understand," the delegate said slowly. 2 weeks ago, I was ready to cancel. Your delegation's terms were aggressive. My board was divided. The risk seemed too high." His voice softened. "I came into the conference room alone, trying to decide whether this partnership was worth it. I found this on the floor. Someone had written it in calligraphy, the exact style my father used." Raina's hand covered her mouth. "My father was a calligrapher. Not successful by most measures. He spent his life creating beautiful things. My grandfather told me art was impractical, that real success meant buildings and balance sheets. I believed him. I built this hotel by being strategic. Cold, some say." A chair creaked. "But this paper reminded me of something my father used to say. That kindness compounds in ways profit margins don't measure. That beauty has value even when it doesn't show up in financial statements." Easton's voice strengthened. "I kept this paper. I looked at it every morning, and it changed my mind about risk, about partnership, about doing business with people who value honor alongside profit." Another silence. "Who wrote it?" the delegate asked. Raina held her breath. Elodie's voice cut in sharp. "Oh, that was just some pointless doodle from a cleaner. Nothing official. Not worth mentioning." "I disagree." Easton's tone hardened like steel. "I think it's worth quite a lot. In fact, I'd like to know exactly who wrote it." "With respect, Mr. Hughes," Elodie said, voice tight, "we have actual business to discuss, not random scribbles from low-level staff." "Interesting." Easton cut her off. Because the person who created this has more skill than the $3,000 professional you hired to fix last week's error. The one that nearly cost us this partnership. The silence turned sharp. One of the board members cleared his throat. Perhaps we should move forward. No, the delegate's voice. I want to know who wrote this. In my culture, calligraphy is a mark of education and respect. If someone in your hotel possesses this skill and you're treating it as worthless, that concerns me. Her voice cooled. It suggests you don't recognize value when it's right in front of you. Raina heard Elodie's sharp intake of breath. Find out who wrote it, Easton said, and ask them to come to my office at 4. Footsteps, voices, the meeting was ending. Raina ran. She made it to the loading dock. Cade was there as if waiting. You were listening? It wasn't a question. Raina nodded, unable to speak. You wrote it. She nodded again. Then you need to go to his office at 4. I can't. Cade, I can't. Elodie will destroy me. You heard her, she wants me invisible. She can't destroy something that's already being seen. His voice was gentle but firm. The CEO knows your work changed his mind about a $40 million deal. The delegates respect it. The only person who doesn't see your value is you. But what if I fail? What if I prove everyone right that I'm just a cleaner who got lucky? Then you fail. But at least you'll fail as yourself. He touched her shoulder. Your mother didn't teach you calligraphy, so you could hide it forever. At 4, Raina stood outside Easton Hughes's office. Her uniform was clean but worn. Her hands shook. She thought about running, about calling in sick, about letting this chance slip away. Then she thought about her mother, about Cade's daughter who never danced, about every person who ever made themselves smaller. She knocked. Come in. Easton sat behind a desk of dark wood and glass. The calligraphy paper lay in front of him, protected in a clear sleeve. He looked at her for a long moment. You wrote this? It wasn't a question. Raina nodded. Yes, sir. How long have you been studying calligraphy? 16 years. My mother taught me basics before she died. I kept learning after, from books, wherever I could find instruction. Why? The question surprised her. Because it was the only thing that made me feel close to her. And because when I write, I'm not invisible anymore. Something shifted in Easton's expression. My father said the same thing, that every stroke was proof you existed. He stood, walked to the window. I need someone for tomorrow's signing ceremony. The delegates specifically requested live calligraphy for the partnership dedication page. A cultural tradition. Can you do it? Raina's voice came out small, in front of everyone. Yes, the delegates, the board, press, about 200 people. I'm not a professional. I've never performed publicly. You're the person who wrote this. He turned to face her, holding up the paper. You're the person whose art changed my mind about a $40 million decision. That's all the qualification I need. His eyes held hers. Can you do it? Terror and hope warred in her chest. She thought of her mother guiding her hand, of Cade's words, of 16 years of practice in hidden spaces. Yes, she whispered. I can do it. Tomorrow Raina would step into the light, but would her hands stay steady when every eye was waiting for her to fail? Raina didn't sleep. She practiced until 3 hands cramping, doubt circling. The strokes came automatically, her body knew them, but her mind kept replaying Elodie's voice. Pathetic, delusional, stay invisible. When dawn came, she put on her uniform because she had nothing else. She walked into the Manhattan Grand, but this time Easton had left instructions. The front desk called her name. "Ms. Carter, please use the main entrance from now on. Mr. Hughes's orders." She walked through the front doors where guests entered and felt like an imposter. The grand ballroom gleamed. 200 seats filled with people in expensive suits. Delegates, board members, executives, press photographers. At the front, a table held the partnership contract, and beside it, a calligraphy station. Brush, ink, rice paper, a spotlight aimed at the empty chair. Raina's stomach churned. "What do you think you're doing?" Elodie materialized in the hallway. Her eyes glittered. "Mr. Hughes asked me to perform." "I know what he asked. I want you to understand what happens when you embarrass this hotel in front of international press." She stepped closer. "You'll never work in this city again. Not here, not anywhere. I'll make sure of it. Understand?" Raina's throat went dry. "I understand." "Good. Then maybe you'll admit you're not qualified before you humiliate yourself." But Easton appeared then in a suit that spoke of wealth and power. He looked at Elodie. His voice was cold. "Is there a problem?" "No, sir. Just making sure Raina understands the importance of today." "I'm sure she does, and I'm sure she doesn't need additional pressure." He turned to Raina. His voice warmed slightly. "Are you ready?" "No." "Yes." She didn't know, but she nodded. The ceremony began. Speeches about partnership and mutual respect. Handshakes that sealed $40 million. The contract was signed by both parties, each signature witnessed and applauded. Then, the head delegate stood and spoke in careful English. "In our tradition, a partnership of this magnitude requires a final step. A handwritten dedication that transforms legal obligation into cultural honor. We are honored that the Manhattan Grand has provided an artist to create this dedication in traditional style." Every eye turned to the calligraphy station. Every eye landed on Raina. Easton gestured. "Raina Carter, if you would." She walked to the front. The spotlight was blinding. Her uniform suddenly felt wrong, too shabby, too honest about who she really was. She was a cleaner in a room full of power. The delegates watched. The board watched. The press photographers raised their cameras. Her hand shook as she picked up the brush. The paper waited pristine and blank. The room held its breath. Raina dipped the brush in ink, brought it to paper. The first stroke wavered. Just slightly. Just enough to be wrong. Elodie's voice cut through. "Oh dear, perhaps we should call a professional before this goes further." Raina's hand froze. She saw the crooked stroke, saw 16 years of practice about to crumble, heard Elodie's voice, "You're nothing." Then she heard her mother's voice clear as the day she died, "Every stroke matters, sweetheart. But so does every breath. Breathe first, then write." Raina closed her eyes, breathed, opened them, and continued. The second stroke was perfect. The third flowed like water. The fourth curved with confidence she didn't know she possessed. Her hand remembered what her mind doubted. Letter by letter, the dedication took shape. Traditional characters, complex and precise, each stroke a small act of defiance against everyone who'd called her worthless. The room went silent. Not the silence of doubt, the silence of awe. When she finished the final stroke, she set down the brush and stepped back. Her hands were steady now. She looked at what she'd created and saw 16 years of her mother's love made visible. The head delegate stood, walked to the table, examined the work with careful eyes. Then she looked at Raina and bowed a gesture of deep respect. "This is exceptional work. You honor our tradition with great skill." The delegate smiled. "Thank you." Applause erupted. Real applause. Cameras flashed, and Raina stood there stunned as 200 people acknowledged what she'd created. Easton stepped forward. His voice carried through the ballroom. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know something." He paused. 2 weeks ago, Raina Carter was cleaning conference rooms. She was invisible to most of us, overlooked, underestimated. He picked up the original calligraphy, but she possessed a rare gift, and she had courage to use it when it mattered. His eyes found Elodie in the crowd. "This paper changed my mind about this entire partnership. It reminded me that talent doesn't care about job titles, that beauty can come from unexpected places." His voice hardened. "It also reminded me that leadership means recognizing talent wherever it appears, and suppressing that talent means failing at our most basic responsibility." Elodie's face drained of color. Easton turned back. "Raina Carter could have corrected our error last week immediately. She knew exactly how to fix it, but she was silenced, told she wasn't qualified." His jaw tightened. "We paid $3,000 and nearly destroyed this partnership because someone decided talent had a uniform requirement." He looked directly at Raina. "Talent doesn't care about rank. Today, Raina saved our honor." The applause came again, longer and louder. People stood. The delegates bowed once more, and Raina felt something break open inside her, all the years of being small, being quiet, being invisible, cracking apart, to make room for something she'd forgotten. Pride. Raina had finally been seen, but being visible meant facing consequences she couldn't predict, and a future she'd never dared imagine. After the ceremony, Easton asked Elodie to his office. Raina didn't hear what was said, but she saw Elodie leave 40 minutes later, face rigid, carrying a box of belongings. Beth found Raina in the locker room. "Elodie's transferred. Small branch upstate. Major demotion. No authority." She gripped Raina's hand. "What you did was brave. You showed us it's possible to be seen." Monday morning, Raina returned expecting her cleaning cart. Instead, she found a message to report to Human Resources. Her stomach dropped. The HR director smiled. "Please sit. Mr. Hughes has requested a position change. Effective immediately, you're transferred to marketing and brand development as creative associate specializing in hand lettering." Raina stared. "Your salary increases to $60,000 annually, triple your current pay. Full benefits including education funds, and you'll have studio space." The director slid papers across. "If you accept, we need your signature." "I don't have formal training. I never went to art school. You're the person who created something beautiful enough to change a CEO's mind about a $40 million deal. That's the qualification Mr. Hughes needs." The director softened. "Don't talk yourself out of this." Raina picked up her mother's pen and signed. That afternoon, she found Easton in his office. "Thank you for seeing me. You earned this, but you gave me the chance." He looked thoughtful. "Do you know why I kept that calligraphy?" Raina shook her head. "The stroke work was identical to my father's. Not similar, identical." He pulled out the paper. "My father developed a specific technique, uniquely his. He died before he could teach it formally. I taught myself from books. I found an old library book on classical calligraphy. Classical Calligraphy Methods by James Hughes." Raina's eyes widened. "Yes, it had handwritten notes in the margins." Easton's smile was sad and warm. That was his book. He donated his library to the public system, said knowledge should be free. He touched the paper. "You learned from him without knowing, and you reminded me what he tried to teach me. What's that? That beauty matters. That creating something meaningful is never a waste. that a person's value can't be measured by their title. His voice roughened. He would have loved your work. I wish I could have known him. In a way you did. Every time you use his techniques, you carry him forward. He looked at her directly. Don't let anyone make you invisible again. The world needs what you create. That evening, she found Cade at the loading dock. Congratulations on the new position. I couldn't have done it without you. You just needed someone to remind you that staying silent was a choice. He smiled. You wrote your own fate. I just watched. Why did you help me? Cade was quiet. I told you about my daughter. What I didn't tell you is she used to practice ballet in the employee break room during my lunch hour. His voice softened. One day a manager saw her, said she was disrupting operations, told me to keep her away. Raina waited. I did. And slowly she stopped dancing altogether, started believing she didn't belong. He looked at Raina. She gave up, spent 20 years wondering what if, died last year never having danced professionally. That wasn't your fault. Maybe not. But I learned something. Silence isn't protection, it's erasure. His eyes brightened. When I saw you hiding your gift, I saw my daughter, and I couldn't stay silent again. Raina's eyes burned. She would be proud of you. Maybe. But I'm proud of you. You stepped forward even when you were terrified. He touched her shoulder. That takes real courage. What will happen to Elodie? Transferred to a small branch. Housekeeping coordinator. No authority. Significant pay cut. Cade's expression was neutral. Sometimes consequences become inevitable. I should feel triumphant, but I just feel tired. That's because you're not cruel. Victory doesn't require hatred. He smiled. Justice is enough. Raina had reclaimed her voice and her future, but the real test would come when she discovered whether she could use her freedom to change someone else's life. 1 year later, the Manhattan Grand Brooklyn opened on a crisp October morning. The entire design centered on hand-lettered artwork and calligraphy. Every wall told a story. It was Raina's vision brought to life with Easton's support. Raina stood in the lobby watching guests admire the installations. Each piece told stories about kindness, courage, and being seen. Easton found her near the entrance. Nervous. Terrified. What if people don't connect? Look. He gestured. A woman in her 70s stood before the main installation, tears streaming. Her daughter held her. The calligraphy read, "Your mother's hands held more than you'll ever know." Fourth person I've seen cry at that one. Easton said quietly, "You're creating permission for people to feel." A moment passed between them, not romantic, but deeply respectful. Two people who'd changed each other's lives by choosing to see value. "There's someone I want you to meet." He led her to where an elegant woman in her 60s examined a piece. Raina Carter, this is Dr. Lin Zhang. She directs the East Asian Arts Institute. Dr. Zhang extended her hand. Your work is exceptional. Traditional technique with contemporary resonance. Where did you train? I didn't. Not formally. I taught myself from books. Remarkable. We're launching a mentorship program for emerging calligraphers next spring. Young artists who have talent but lack access. I'd like you to be a primary mentor. Raina blinked. Mentor, but I'm still learning. The best teachers are eternal students. Dr. Zhang's smile was knowing. And you understand what it's like to be overlooked, to have your talent dismissed. Those experiences make you exactly the guide struggling artists need. Before Raina could respond, a young woman approached hesitantly. She wore a room attendant uniform name tag reading Maria Torres. She couldn't have been more than 22 with nervous eyes and paint-stained fingers. "Excuse me, are you Raina Carter?" "Yes. I clean rooms at the main Manhattan hotel. I heard you used to also, and that you—" She trailed off. Raina's heart clenched. She saw herself in Maria's eyes. "That I what? That you got out. That you became something more than what they said you could be." The words landed like stones in water. Raina remembered standing exactly where Maria stood. "What do you do, Maria, besides cleaning?" "I paint. Just small things. Nothing professional. But I can't stop even when I'm exhausted." She looked down. "Everyone says it's a waste of time, that I should be grateful and stop dreaming about things that aren't realistic for someone like me." "May I see your work?" Maria pulled out her phone, showed photos of small canvases, vibrant colors, raw, emotion, powerful. Paintings of her neighborhood, her grandmother's hands, the subway at dawn. "Oh, these are beautiful," Raina said honestly. "They're real. They have authenticity." "But who would care what a hotel cleaner paints?" The words echoed from Raina's own past. She looked at Easton, who nodded. She looked at Dr. Zhang, already smiling. "I would care. Dr. Zhang would care." Raina made a decision. "The Institute's mentorship program doesn't include painting." "We're expanding to multiple mediums," Dr. Zhang said. "We believe talent deserves support regardless of art form." Raina turned to Maria. "Would you be interested in formal mentorship, training, studio access exhibitions?" Maria's eyes widened. "I could never afford full scholarship if you're willing to work hard." "Yes, yes, of course, but why would you do this?" "You don't know me." Raina took Maria's paint-stained hand. "Because everyone deserves a chance to be seen. Because someone once gave me that chance. And because your talent matters regardless of your name tag." Maria's eyes filled with tears. She gripped Raina's hands. "Thank you. I won't let you down." "You couldn't if you tried. Just promise me one thing." "Anything. When you make it, and you will remember this feeling. Find someone else to lift up. That's how we change things." Maria nodded, unable to speak, and walked away, clutching her phone. Easton stood beside Raina. "You just changed her life. Someone changed mine. This is returning the favor. It's more than that. You're building something that will outlast us." His voice quieted. "My father would have loved this. I wish I could have known him. In a way you did. Every time you use his techniques, you carry him forward." He looked around. "That's what legacy means. Not buildings, but the beauty we create and the people we lift up." Kate appeared then at exactly the right moment. He'd taken a part-time consulting position. His hair was whiter, but his eyes were clear. "Looks like you're building something that matters." Raina smiled, trying to. "Succeeding. Your mother would be so proud." "I think about her every day." "Good. That means she's still here, still teaching you." He touched her shoulder once, then moved on. As afternoon light streamed through the windows, casting warmth across Raina's calligraphy, she thought about the shy girl she'd been a year ago. Invisible. Afraid. Certain she'd never matter. She thought about who she was now. Still learning, still growing, but visible at last. Seen. Valued. And she thought about Maria and all the others out there creating in secret, waiting for someone to tell them they mattered. That was the real work. Not just creating beauty, but creating space for others to create their own. Not just being seen, but helping others step into the light. The cycle of kindness coming full circle. The camera closes on Raina's dedication in the Brooklyn hotel lobby lit by setting sun. Kindness is never wasted. Talent is never wrong. And no one, absolutely no one, is truly invisible if they dare to believe and step forward. Raina stands beside it. An elderly woman stops, takes a picture, tears in her eyes. "This is beautiful," she says. "It reminds me of something I told my daughter before she passed." "What's that?" "That it's never too late to become who you were meant to be." "I wish I'd believed it myself." The woman's voice breaks. "I always wanted to write. Never did. Too scared. Now I'm 73 wondering what I was afraid of." Raina smiles gently. "You're 73 and still here. That means you still have time." The woman looks at her, really looks. Something shifts. Hope. Permission. "You really think so?" "I know so. I was invisible until I was 26. I thought it was too late, but it wasn't. And it's not too late for you either." The woman walks away slower, now thoughtful. Raina watches, knowing maybe she planted a seed. Voiceover closes. This is a story about more than one shy girl finding her voice. It's about every person told they're too small to matter, too ordinary to be extraordinary, too invisible to deserve being seen. But here's the truth: every person carries something irreplaceable.